The three main reasons to use the simulator are for analytics, letting you extract content and analyze what's happened on the page regarding content, its metrics, and associated actions. Segmentation, enabling you to define actions based on visitor activities on specific parts of the page, such as segmenting all visitors with a cart value above $300. And actions, where you want to trigger actions once a segment is matched, for example, showing a different banner or replacing text. For analytics, the simulator helps you identify HTML elements on the page, which you need to define in order for Personyze to analyze and extract information. Once you've defined the exact locations of elements, you can dynamically update banners, choose where to replace text, and extract data that appears in a text input field or the name of a product. It also lets you test how a web page will look before deciding to activate actions, or how certain visitors from other countries are already seeing it without the need to match their segments. The online guide provides a detailed explanation of all the simulator's functionality. The last visit report shows the most recent record of visitors, displaying the visitor's ID, time, condition ID, which is the segment, and the number of goals met. Parameters to replace lets you enter specific parameters to test how the page will look, allowing you to fake data so you appear as someone else. For example, if you need to see the page as a visitor coming from Algeria on a specific keyword, the simulator lets you match the segment. When you click Save, the site displays as this person would see it. To turn it off, click X to delete the temporary profile you created. First of all, the simulator needs to find you in order to work by entering the correct address of a website with Personyze installed, which matches the URL you entered in the domain settings page. Your user ID will appear here. If your site is using redirect, you must enter the URL that the browser will display after the redirect. You can also take a specific page that has Personyze installed, enter it, and click the arrow button. If the code is not installed, the simulator won't work, and the user ID field will read null. Once you have a user ID, clicking the editor link or play button will start the simulator and open the simulator configuration window. You can work within Personyze, mousing over the page which displays a blue border around any element that you can define as a container, or click the Go Live button to open the URL full screen in its own window. Most of the time, you will use the simulator to select containers. Moving your mouse over the elements now also displays their names in the list to the left. Go to the page and point to a specific area where you want to do something, such as track activity. For example, find a specific element and now try to track content from it. First, select at least one of the definition types. It can be a placeholder for information, as well as capture, click event, and grab HTML. The top field displays the ID of the element as defined in the code, and at the bottom you can add a name that is easier to recognize. Based on what you choose, you may have additional settings, which you can see by clicking the black arrow. For example, for placeholder, you can specify width, height, and direction. Children Max defines the number of actions, such as banners, you can add to the container. By default, this is set to 1. For Grab HTML, the Grab HTML mask list lets you specify the information to take, such as limiting content to numbers or fragments. Click Save to add the container to Personyze. If you want to continue creating more containers, click Select, then move the mouse over the page again to choose another page element. Clicking the Containers tab lets you see a list of all the containers on the page. Clicking an item in the list draws a red border around the element. Click the All Containers option to display the master list of all the containers defined throughout the entire website. The ones on the page now appear in bold. The All on Page tab displays every element on the current page. The ones that you already defined in Personyze as containers will appear in bold. On the screen, elements that are in the system will have a red border. Those not yet defined will be in blue. To add one of the elements as a container to the system, select it, then go to the Selector tab to define its type, give it a name, and click Save. Once again, the three main reasons to use the simulator are for analytics, segmentation, and actions. The Settings tab lets you display the user visit table where you can see data related to a specific page. You can see all the containers, their events, and metrics on activities that just happened. To reduce the amount of information displayed, change the number of rows displayed to 1. Clicking on the Conditions tab instructs Personyze to display all the segments in the account. Check a segment you want to see and click Save. Personyze now shows you how a person from the selected segment would be seeing the page. Clicking the Actions tab displays a list of all the actions in the account as well as all action groups. Check the actions or group of actions you want to view on the page, then click Save to apply and see them.